Good morning. I am starting early today because I want to get as much done as possible. Considering I didn't stream Monday and I likely won't stream on Wednesday. And I might be too anxious to stream Tuesday. We'll see. We'll see. I have been seeing uh a lot of activity in my uh, neighborhood. So I apologize in advance if there's like cars rooming or like thunder in the skies. I don't know. It was like rumbling this morning. So I woke up early because there was a lot of noise. But hopefully it's quiet. I think it's like died down a bit. Um but yeah, the damage has been done. I'm awake and I am here. Hi Cal, hello, good morning, how are you? Welcome in. Thanks for saying hi. I'm gonna start. The last thing we did, there was something scary in our shower and I avoided it. I was like, nope, and left. And when it came back, it was gone. So we're gonna see if it's still there. And if it's still there, I'm gonna leave again because this isn't a horror game. We're not doing that. We don't do that here. Good, how are you? I'm good. I woke up early. For reasons not of my own. I wish I could still be asleep. Right now it's around the time that I wake up and get ready for stream though. So yeah, I should be waking up here. But if I'm still a bit eepy, then yeah. I've been fighting a migraine the past couple days. If it comes back today, you want a shower? You can have a shower. Alright, there's nothing spoopy today. Can't shower. One. There we go. It's evening? Oh, I see. What time? How far in the future are you compared to me? It's 10:30 for me. 2 grenades. Did I miss 2 showers? I can never remember if evening is in the afternoon or if it's noon. Noon is 12, right? 6:30. Holy heck. Okay. I hope things are winding down for you then. Let's put on this hat so we can match with BB, and then let's get out of here. I refuse to be scared by a creature in my shower. No thank you. We get another vision! Alright, let's see, Mads. What do you have to show for us? I think it's starting to loop. I don't know if that means it's doing this again.
That's it, Lisa. Don't be shy.
It's repeating. I wonder why. Okay, I have to remember what I was doing.
Verifying ID.
Deliver.
Weapons detected.
Okay.
All weapons will be
Hold on.
locked until the...
I need to go here, but it was raining over there. And if I have a delivery to make, then I don't want to bring it with me. Let's collect. Distribution, what is this? What is this? Collect. Deliver. I'll have to get it and then deliver it. And then go to... Okay, well this doesn't say anything about BTs. So maybe we should be fine. But this Weatherstone, if we're gonna have to come back here anyway, I kinda just wanna leave it here. So private locker. What's this stuff? Where is it? Curlium gauge. Yep, you're gonna stay in the locker for now. For now. We have bola guns, everything. Just finished work not too long ago. Hey! Are you having dinner soon? What you having for dinner? Be sure to hydrate as well. Let me know if the audio is okay. I've been having issues with the audio getting crunchy for some reason. But I kind of know how to fix it. Not really. It's like a temporary fix. I just change the setting around and then hope for the best. This bridge still isn't fixed. What is that? Oh, nipples. I'll take that.
Restrictions lifted.
I swear that was there before too. So I can pick things up while I'm still on my bike. What? Let me... We did a lot of fighting with the mules yesterday because they had a lot of materials for this. Put that there, confirm. I need more Carolium crystals, but those are usually in BT territory and I'm scared to go in there. A little bit at a time. You know, it's fine. So we're gonna go... I wanna go to that tower just to see where it is we're supposed to go. Hold on. My volume's a little too loud for my ears. Okay. Gonna cross this bridge. I wonder if we use my ladder. I wonder if these guys resetted too. These... Oh, I have to get off for this. Oh no, I don't have to. Hey, alright. Lovely. It's not a lot though. Barely any. Alright, let's see. Where is this pen? Hi, Taya! Beza's still working you to the bone. Exactly. Everyone's dead and living in bunkers, but I still have to make this Amazon delivery. How are you? Good. I think it's still morning for you. No. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Stop it. I think those are people. I need to go to... I don't think I can see it from here. Weather station. Not going there. So it's this way. Yep. It's there. Okay. So we're going backwards. We're going backwards and I think it's raining. We'll see, we'll see, we'll see. I'm good, how are you? I'm doing, alright. I woke up too early. And now I'm streaming early. So, you know, we're making the most of it. I think I woke up at like 6. I don't remember why, but then I couldn't fall back asleep. So I was just like, okay, I'll just stay awake. And now I'm still awake.
All clear. Welcome. Weapons restrictions lifted.
I want to build these roads. Engineer. Who is the engineer? Elder. You're the engineer. That's too far. Sorry, buddy. Alright, we have to cross somewhere. We have to cross somewhere, but I don't know where is safe that I can still bring my bike. There's like no roads. The road ended earlier. Okay, okay. Where does it look not as steep? Over here? Oh, that's a... Be brave. Be brave, bike. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Is this mule's territory? Are they gonna have me go into mules territory to get it? I mean, I don't mind. I can handle mules now. I'm not scared. I don't want them to come to me though. Okay. Okay. I see a lot of them. Don't throw stuff at me. Jeez, they're so loud. And for why? I want to see what's in this post box. Because I'm nosy. What's in your mailbox? Alright, I'm gonna leave my bike here. So that I can... Oops. So that I can fight these guys. Ooh. Both of my bullet guns are fine. How do you see me? You're so far. And then we kick them while they're down. Climbing anchor. They're all coming here. I love that their alert sounds like a guitar. Dun dun dun. Medals. I want that. Okay. Thank you for your contribution to the roads of America. It's another reason why I want to fight these guys, because they have good mats. Oh, somebody leveled up my my charging tower. Don't throw anything at me, okay? Oh my god, I got him around the neck. Oh, if you get them around the neck, they go to sleep. You don't have to kick them. Oh. Oh, I need ceramics too. I'm coming. I will get that. Jesus. You can like hear the crunch when you kick their spine. No more coming? I think there's more in the base. So let's go see what's in this thing now and then go to the base. Oh, come on. Turn around. I got scanned again. I've been playing a lot of Overwatch. Ooh. Wait, I can get this for him. I can get... Oh, I want this. I want this too. I want this too. Okay, wait. Wait. If we take it all, we can store a bit of it. We're not in danger, right? Yeah, we're not in danger. Okay. Store this guy's stuff onto the bike. This one too. Actually, maybe we store the ceramics onto the bike instead. And then I'll take the ceramics. Or no, did it go on? Where's my bike? Oh, they're both on. Okay. So I can put something else there. Like this. Yeah, okay. Maybe this too? I'm trying not to carry too much. There's nothing... Okay. Wait, it's working out. Okay, never mind. I can't. But everything else is perfect. Lovely. Okay. Now we go to the base. We raid this warehouse. Give me all your deliverables. It's mine to deliver now. What? What? Let me have this. The controls are so wonky. There's people. They have a truck. Okay. Alright. Now. Let's not be hasty. Now. Don't throw your things at me. Is that one? Are you just sitting there? I was tricked. Oh no! He's hiding behind things. Okay, I think I got them all, but now I just gotta make sure they go down. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. You also go to sleep. Okay, everyone's asleep. We're good. What's in your mailbox? You're already live. Yeah, I woke up too early, so now I'm here. Hello. Hi. The craftsman. I'm going to see him anyway. Might as well. I'm also going back there. Resins? I don't think I need resins. I don't think I need resins. Oh, let's take it. Yeah. Let's grab all of it. Yeah. I will need it for something, surely. Look at these metals. Yoink. Take that too. Take it. Take the metals. I cannot. Alright. We're dropping something. Hold on. I actually don't need... What don't I need? What do you have? I don't need all this resin. Right? Offload. Right. Wait. Confirm. I was getting a haircut. I see. To be fair, I waited. Wait, I don't want to pick that up. I need these ceramics too. How's your haircut? Do you like it? Do you like your haircut? Or did they mess up? A data chip. Wait. Can I go in here? Ah! No! Get back on me noggin. Someone's awake. Things keep falling off. You better not touch my bike. Hold on, things keep falling off me. I might have to leave my bike and take their... I missed. I might have to leave my bike and take their truck. What do we think? Hey. Whoa. He hit my bike. If I get him around the head, I have learned that they insta down. Stop. Oh my god, are they awake? Are they waking up? Am I taking too long? Bruh. Okay, fine. Hold on, wait. We will take the truck. You, all offload. Get on. What is on me? Truck. I want everything. on this. Turned out good. That's good. I've started cutting my own hair because I can't trust people. Stuff on my back. Get in the truck. There's a lot of stuff in this one. Load onto truck. I think that's most of it. Yeah. I'm really paranoid too. Oh my god, please stop running. There was like stuff that I left inside. Right, my medals. That's important. Anything else? Boots, resin, ladder. That's it. I'm just gonna leave. There's someone here. I see you. Don't worry. I have a boot for you. Oh, never mind. Ow. Ooh, medals! Thank you. It's like he delivered it to me. Orders will temporarily... Is it because I cleared it so now other players can come here safely? May as well take the resins now, huh? Yoink. Alright. We're gonna go to that guy. Can I access the map from here? I don't remember. I wish I had the courage to cut my own hair. Just gotta be brave enough. If they're gonna mess it up, you may as well mess it up yourself. Okay, so we're gonna go to the craftsman, and then I'm pretty sure it's a straight shot to the elder. I've gotten up the mountains before, so this will be easy peasy. Let's not run over the people because we can't let them die. At least it'll be by your mistake rather than paying someone to make the mistake for you. No, but if you find like a really good barber or what is the other thing called? What is a salon lady called? A hairdresser? Yeah. You be their friend. Unfortunately, the only one that I've ever made a connection with was from when I was a child. And I think it was mostly my mom. Guys, I can drive, I swear. I can drive, I swear. We're looking for it. We're gonna go there. That looks traversable. Come on. Come on. Yeah! And it's not raining this time. Yay. Okay. But yeah, I've only known one, and I'm pretty sure it was because she was friends with my mom. And I do not make small talk like that. The moment they start talking to me, I freak out.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID.
Make conversation?
Weapons detected. Secondary weapons will be locked until departure. Cargo verified.
Yay. What did that say? Too far from cargo, resin. Did I forget the resin? Shoot. Whatever, it's fine. I have lost cargo for you. I'm pretty sure these are all his. I do not want to... Don't entrust. Yeah, that's for me to return, buddy. Leave that to me. Why pay someone to mess up when I can do it for
Delivering cargo.
free? I think
Hey,
for me,
Sam.
it's like my
Thanks.
my bangs.
How you Bridges guys manage it, I'll never know.
They either give me like too short, or they let it be too long, or too thick, or too thin. I need it a specific way. The only time I'd really go is if I need the back trimmed, because I can't see back there. Ooh. Alloy. What? We almost have 4 stars. We almost have 4 stars and we're not done with the game. Does this mean I finish early? New interview data acquired. King Midas and the chiral crystals. Fragile's Father and Fragile Express. Huh. More structures can now be built within the chiral network area. Yay! Whoa, that's a lot of stuff. Okay, cool. Can I take stuff from them? Can I take materials from here, you think? And then I can build the roads with it? Cause I'd rather be able to drive on a road. Skilled mover. You've achieved Bridge Link grade 10. You can now make strand contracts with other players. You can now make upgrade cooperation requests in order to ask other players to contribute materials to your structures. I thought I did that already. The period for which you can send likes has been increased to 5 seconds. I thought I did that from the start. Ooh, what? Expert mover. Clients far and wide see as your trusted Bridge Link grade 20. I thought we were just at 10. Your sync level with other players has increased by 10%. You can now make more strand contracts. 5 to 10. You can now make upgrade cooperation requests. Send likes has been increased to 6 seconds. Okay.
Seeing you in action gives me hope. Keep it up, Sam.
This guy loves me.
Good work. New order available. Please access delivery terminal.
Let's see if he has any orders. Wait, does he have bots too? Oh. Ooh. Ooh. Oof. Those packages were destroyed. Some of them were in the 90s. 90% destroyed. Damn. At least their favorability doesn't go down if something's like horrible. I want this delivered. Yikes. I want... Yikes. I want... You can deliver this. It's fine.
Deploying autonomous delivery
I
bot.
kind of want to deliver the heavy ones myself. So we're going to the engineer. No, we're going to the elder. And then we're going to the... Ooh. Was he singing a different song? Orders? Not engineer. This one, right? Yes. Give to me. I will take. Put it in the truck. Whoa, that's a lot. Oh, okay. So let's not use all these resins. Just in case. because they're not mine to use. Let's fix our...
Sam,
What?
you can now submit upgrade requests for structures. If there's one you use a lot, you should definitely consider it.
None. Can I upgrade a ladder? Cargo. Let's fix that. Good enough. Okay. I need to charge the truck. Thank you for the hydrate. Today's tea is vanilla rose chai, like before. Num 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 num. I tried to put a little bit more because I usually put like 1 teaspoon. I did like 1.5 this time, and it's a little bitter now. So I don't know what I did last time,
Restrictions lifted.
but everybody hydrating? Okay, I need to go here. But there's mules along the way. Do we remember which way I went? I know there was like a sign that said like traversable by car, and then I took it to heart and I know I heckin' went for it. Oop. I was like, heck yeah, it is. And I just went, you know? Up that mountain. I think it's that way. Is it that? Up there? No. It's that way. Straight path. Where is it? Oh. Okay. So we can go that way. Listen, every path is a road, right? We'll make it up. We can make it up there. We just gotta believe. I see that sign. That mule sign. I'm not afraid. Oh boy. Okay. Well, that looks a lot steeper than what it looked like down there. Do we still believe? If you're stubborn enough, anything is possible. You just gotta give yourself a pep talk and make your truck jump. Oh god. Okay, wait. Okay. So, not that way. Which means we will go the way that we did last time. Stubborn, more like determined. Exactly. Okay, wait. Don't scan me. I'm not ready yet. Okay. We'll cross the river right there because it looks not that bad. And if anybody comes for us, I have a gun. Okay, wait. One more time. Jump. Can I jump this? What? Let me through. Oh my goodness, my battery. Please. Well, now they're coming. Well, that's a lot. Should I take care of them first? They don't see me. Smile. And if they do see me, I would gladly trade trucks with them. Is this a good way up? me up. Yeah. Okay. Lake Knot City is where? No, Lake Knot City is up here. Yeah, I'm not going up there. Okay. Did we go up this way? Stop, 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 stop. Stop falling, stop falling, stop falling, stop falling, stop falling. No. Wait. Okay, do we go up that way or find another way? Come on. This might get destroyed, but it's okay. It's not ours to deliver. This looks shaky. I don't remember my battery. My battery's running out. Okay, wait. Okay, wait. 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 Someone's coming. Ha! It's this way. It's this way. It's this way. Trust. 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 Okay, wait. Wait. Let me take care of this. What? Oh my god, everybody's falling. Why would you follow me here to begin with? Oh my god, medals! I'll take it. Why did everything fall off? What if they brought me their truck? Hey guys, don't you have a truck with like full fuel battery? What if I'm not looting? Listen, these were meant for me. Put the stuff that fell off. Stop! It's fine! It's okay! The pen definitely should have gone up there. Pen, 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 pen. How come the container didn't take damage, but the pen... You can't see. Hold on, wait. You still can't see. Hold on. Is that... How come the pen took damage? Okay. Everything else is on the ground. Resins... Get in the truck. Ceramics, get in the truck. The ladder, you can... Good? Confirm. Gosh, there's so many. Hold on. Go to sleep. Oh, he went to sleep. Stop. I understand. That's ceramics. I will come for you. Oh no, this bola gun is done. Loot first, kick next. Someone else is coming. We need to get out of here. And preferably transfer... Transfer to a truck that has what? To a truck that does have. Why is there a rainbow? I saw that. Can I get in? Do you have too much loot now? No. Smile. Sorry, buddy. Totally. Lovely. Okay. Let's go that way. Because I can just take care of them. And hope that they have a truck. Hey now. That was really close. But if they don't have a truck? Oh boy, they don't have a truck. What do? We go where? If we're on the road, it doesn't use a battery, right? Right? No, everything's going wrong. Thank you for the bridge. We're gonna lose battery right here. No longer on the power grid. Back to a walking simulator. Listen. There was a... We'll figure it out. Can I? I can! Okay, wait. Yeah! Please tell me I did a generator and not a... We made it, like, just to where we can charge our stuff. Okay. Okay. I want to take them all. I wanna kill them. Not kill them. I wanna knock them all out. Done? 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 Vehicles cannot be used if your cargo load... What do you mean? What do you mean? I was just on this. And I used one thing, so... What do you mean? I was just... on it! I don't have cargo! I used one of my cargo! Where's my gun? Is it because I did this? It's because I had my gun in my hand. Okay, game. Okay. Now we go up that hill. There is a road. I just don't see it. Carrying the absolute max. Yeah, so then that means that I cannot, I cannot simply... How did I do this before? Great view. I cannot simply... What was I saying? Go over there and loot them all. Going in a circle. It's fine. Oh my god, the controls! Yeah, we just had to get on the grid so that I could build that, but now I don't have a PCC. So if this happens again, that's it for us. Oh no, they stole my empty bola gun. Oh, they're awake too, and we're heading right for them. Fine. Look at them all heading down. That's a lot of them. We'll try to avoid. Nope, they all saw me. Oh, no! Maybe I should have just taken the road, you know? It may have been faster. Oh, they're running after me. Hey, look! A charge tower! Come on. Come on. Don't do this to me. Let me up. Bruh. Okay.
Still got it.
This way then. Okay. Finally. Let's charge.
Charged up.
Oh, that was fast. Is there a way up? How to heck? Maybe right there? How did I do this before? Or did I just launch myself off? Stop, 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 stop. Don't do that. You're joking. Okay. Let's try this again. Because if I go too far from...
If anyone's watching.
People are watching Sam Porter Bridges. Stop, 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 stop. Stop, 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 stop. Why was it easier the first time we drove our car up here? Jump. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so this is where all of our fuel is gonna go into. And then we're gonna have to charge it again. I know how to drive. Shoot. Shoot. What's happening? Okay, wait. What is this? Online sign here. Does that mean I can drive there? Checkpoint. What does that mean? What is there? At least there are no BTs here. Surely, if we keep trying, we'll find a path that works. And don't end up in a ravine. Yeah! Look at that! Don't fall into the ravine! This is the right path! More medals! Yeah! Through sheer force of will! I hate this guy and I'm never delivering... Hey look, I made this. Delivering him anything ever again.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID.
Here's your stupid pen, old man.
Clear. Weapons detected.
Jeebus.
Will be locked until departure. Cargo verified.
It took a tumble, but only 3%. Yeah.
Delivering cargo.
That felt like so
Thanks
much
for
effort.
dropping by again. It's always good to see you. Let's see now how much you got. Ha! This is a veritable mountain.
It's a pen.
cargo.
I'm drinking tea. Oh, it's bitter. Okay. Not gonna do that again.
Until next time.
Do you want to join the network? No?
Good work. New order available. Please access delivery terminal for further information.
Mimir. Does he not... Do I have anything to deliver here? Lost cargo? Nope. Not here. But I can do this memory chip. I should also make tea during my lunch. Tea party on stream! Yay! What tea are you drinking? Mama!
The great deliverer does it again. Much obliged.
Welcome. Yamaha MT-09. Cool.
Thank you for your contribution.
Yay. Alright, can I put stuff here? I have stuff on my back. More metals onto the truck. And ceramics onto the truck. Lovely. I don't know how much the where did the metals go? Oh. Yunnan black tea. Okay, wait. I think that might be too far.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure.
I feel like I should make another gun, right? Because
Sand border bridges.
Can I use your chiral printer? Or is he... I can't. Stupid old man. Heckin' old man. Alright, we're gonna go back here. Does he have any deliveries for there? Nope, nope. Yes? Dare I? I'll have to drop something if it doesn't fit. Onto truck. It does fit. Oh, there's more. On my back. That means I can't. That means I can't get on the. Oops. That means I can't get on the truck. Oh. Oh yeah, I mentioned earlier that I was woken up by loud noises. So apologies in advance if you guys hear like cars or a rumble. I think it was like thundering this morning. I don't know. Woke me up. I need these. I like that this shows now if it's for a quest. So I don't accidentally... I don't need resins. I can offload that. Right. In fact, can I get on now? Lovely packages. Let's go straight for here with no disregard. With no regard. With a disregard? With no regard for... for the terrain. It's fine. I kind of do need to go into, BT territory though, because we need crystals.
Okay, there you go, Speed Demon.
There you go, speed demon. Whoa. Wonder what that is. Whoa. Eyes on the road, Ellie. Watch where you're going. Could the weather please keep it down? There are people trying to sleep here. Exactly. I have so much. My Amazon delivery truck is so full. Oh boy. Is this safe? This looks safe. As long as I hold backspace. Not backspace. S.
What can't you do?
Drive safely. Okay, it's fine. If we end up on that side of the ravine, it's fine. As long as we don't end up under it. Commence rain dancing to appease the rain gods. Oh my goodness. That is one of the things that actually works for me all the time. The rain dance always works. Yay!
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID.
We made it!
ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All
This
weapons
delivery
unlocked.
thing's easy.
Decontaminating.
Oh,
Pleasant journey. All clear. Welcome.
that's right, because I
Stand
left
for
my
the bridges.
truck.
Pleasant journey.
Excuse me, I'm just trying to get in here. Thanks. Yep. Let me make all this lost cargo delivery. Oh, just one? Skip.
So you made it. I gotta hand it to you. None?
If I... Okay, so it's like left click to skip, but if they're talking and it doesn't let you skip and you press left click, it freezes them. So it does the opposite of skipping. It holds you hostage until you're like, oh, he's frozen, and you click it again. It controls, please.
Well, take care of yourself.
Thanks. We're not done here. I have more.
Good work.
More stuff to give you. Make delivery. Yeah. Is this part of the quest?
Everything all right, Zep?
Yeah.
Looks good as new.
Ooh.
My hat's off to you.
Oh, that's it. I thought he was gonna talk more. Level 109. When did that happen?
Well, take care
I
of yourself.
remember when we were level 22.
Good work.
Is that it? Do I not have any more stuff? It's time. It's time to do the quest. Let's take the stuff from the private locker. Oh boy. I have a lot of stuff. I'm gonna recycle the resins because I don't think we need that, but the metals and the ceramics are going into the road. I do need to build a PCC. Though I can get it from a mule. I would prefer to have one. Yep. And then another bola. Oh, not that one. A bola gun. Yeah. Confirm. Recycle my resins. And then the metals and ceramics are going. No more materials can be stored. Never Never mind. We're full? Whatever, I don't care. I don't want to see your face, I don't want to see your face, I don't want to see your face.
Thank you for your continued support.
She's the one other thing that you can't skip too, so you just have to stare at it. Is it gone? Okay. I hate it. I hate it.
Thank you for your contribution.
Okay, let's go. And then we'll take our Should we take the bike back? Out there, in the open, but also surrounded by mules. They're probably all respawned by now,
Pleasant journey.
woken up or whatever.
Pleasant journey. Weapons restrictions lifted.
I like the message that it's like you shouldn't kill your fellow man, you know? Too far away from cargo. Presence. What did I what? Hopefully this is enough. Oh, we don't have pyro crystals. We can't build this even if we wanted to. Goodness, it's gonna take so much. I thought this was a lot. What? Friendship bolas. Yeah. Holy heck! This is a lot! This is everything I have! What? 800 ceramics and I don't know how many metals. Okay. Do we have the thing on us? Cargo. Yes. At least it's there, so if anything gets destroyed, it'll be whatever's at the top. Blood bags are all good. Grenades. 1, 2, 3. Perfect, because I'm pretty sure we're going into, BT territory. Like I asked for, I guess. It's everything I want. Okay, I don't actually know if... We're gonna go here. Maybe. Hey look, mail! Stuff for me to procrastinate with. Porter's in a pinch. Don't know if you've heard, Sam, but that Porter team's building itself a real reputation. They've taken on their share of dangerous orders and come through without a scratch. Our engineer and elder friends have employed their service, as have folks down in Lake Knot City. It's good to see people putting their faith in honest porters again. Been hearing less talk about Fragile Express collaborating with terrorists because of it, I reckon. There is one downside to all this, I'm afraid. Your blood, Sam, ain't enough to go around. Not for all the hematic grenades I've been hoping to churn out. There's just no way to keep up with demand. For now, I've had to restrict the supply. Only folks on the most dangerous run get to carry them. Clients know the score, but porters still want to work. So there's no easy solution. As far as problems go, though, I'd call this a good one. Evidence of how your hard work's been paying off. In fact, I'd say your blood's just as good as bringing people together as it is at driving BTs away. Jeevis, you're gonna bleed me dry. Run, Sam Porter Bridges. I wonder what happens if he gets eaten then. Will it cause a void out? Or will it destroy the BTs? You know? If his blood can drive the BTs away, if they eat him... Oh wait, no. Because he's died. But... If someone with dooms gets eaten, does it cause a void out? I remember the Stranding like it was yesterday. Craters all over, intercity comms cutting out, distribution networks shot to hell. Wasn't no local boys to help a feller out no more, let alone feds. Nope, it was every man for himself. Every man who didn't work for no private courier outfit, that is. Them ones took it upon themselves to keep on delivering the goods folks needed to survive, in spite of the cost, and without hope or exception of reward. What good's money that ain't worth? Holy heck, these people. They speak so complicatedly. Ain't worth the paper it's printed on, after all. Nope, them private operators had to get by on a thank you here and there and fuck all else, but supplies kept on coming. Sure, a few went mule on us, but that didn't seem to faze the rest none. The country fell apart, then the cities, till all that was left holding the world together was them, and they knew it too. Knew we'd all be screwed without them. But that didn't hold it over. But they didn't hold it over us. They kept things moving best they could. For us independents out here and the huddled masses in the cities, Fragile Express and all them others, we owe them a hell of a lot. Bridges, though? Y'all got a lot to prove. Jeez. I think they mentioned Doom's dying is still causing a crater. So... I see. I see. Memory chip? What is this? The Yamaha. Powerful sports bike with an engine based on the so-called crossplane concept and built around the idea of synchronized performance. The satisfaction of instantly being able to have the bike perform as you wish it to. Roboticists and engineers among the preppers hope to be able to apply the same ideas to develop an all-new chiral network-connected delivery machine of their own. Okay. Where's Alloy? There was an Alloy one, wasn't there? King Midas and the chiral crystals. Okay, Hartman, let's see what you've got. Rumors have been circulating regarding a man who calls himself King Midas. Unlike his namesake from Greek mythology, however, this gentleman does not turn all that he touches to gold. Instead, he claims to wield the power to create chiral crystals at will. The story suggests that he gained this power as a result of experiments involving organisms which possessed a similar ability. I am, of course, aware of the existence of microbes that could melt and condense gold, in effect, extracting it from ore deposits. But this is the first I've heard of any organism that can do something similar with beryllium. These organisms are apparently akin to cryptobiotes, as well as the coral that is found in the sea, in that they exist outside of time. If this man truly managed to harvest such organisms, then it is an extraordinary achievement, which could lead to untold possibilities. Veritable bioalchemy, even. Much like his mythical counterpart, however, King Midas is said to have paid a heavy price for his power. Indeed, his body has turned into a mass of particles, a side effect of crystallizing all the beryllium with which he came into contact. It is said that the only evidence of his existence are 2 golden handprints he left behind. Now, I must temper with this rather dramatic story by stressing that no microbes capable of the previously described ability have been detected. As such, I suspect the king is nothing more than an urban legend. The kind of story spun by dreamers in a world where chiral crystals are rare and precious and can only be collected from perilous, timefall-soaked places. Perhaps we could even consider it a morality tale. The moral being, of course, that greed is never good, whether one lusts for gold or for chiral crystals. Why are you telling me this when I'm in need of them? And I'm about to go get some. It is, however, a remarkable coincidence that not long after I first heard talk of this modern-day King Midas, I also started to hear rumors concerning a man wearing a gold death mask. Might the two be related? Who knows? Surely they're related in some way. Fragile's father and Fragile Express. Is her last name Express? Written by Fragile, okay. My father came up with the name Fragile Express before I was born. The US was Swiss cheese back then. All the void outs had left craters as far as the eye could see. People were losing their minds looking for a way out. They thought the government would have their back, but it was gone. All the systems, all the gears that kept their world turning, smashed to bits in a matter of seconds. When everything you know breaks, it's hard not to break yourself. Before our new network, there was an old one. The whole nation was online 24/7. Cameras and microphones everywhere, watching and listening and recording. There was a strange sort of comfort in that, people said. A certainty that someone, somewhere, would know if you were in trouble. But after the Stranding, all vanished into the ether. No one was looking out anymore. No one was coming to save you. A lot of folks died waiting before the rest caught on and took matters into their own hands. My father was one of the latter. He'd been working for a private logistics company, and he and some friends figured they were in a position to bring people supplies and repair vital infrastructure Americans were used to rely on to survive. Oops. They were builders, men and women who understood the value of what was lost and wanted to reclaim it. My father and them really believed that they could get it all back, bit by bit, and make us whole, make us America. It was a precious, fragile dream, like so much back then. But if they nurtured you, if they stayed true, he knew it could all be ours again. People, ideas, connections, all so fragile. The USA was nothing more than a network of people and the connections between them. No wonder it broke apart so easily. But everything that's worth something is fragile. That's why I was given this name. Oh, okay. Okay, I won't judge her for her name anymore if, if that's the case. My father's not with us anymore, but the bond between us remains, fragile though it is. I see. Okay. Alright, I have nothing to, I have nothing to, procrastinate with. It's time to go. Back into the game. Let's go look at the tower again. I have a PCC. What is that? Maybe that's where I need to go? In which case, not too far. Okie dokie. The collector. Should I go there? It's the weather station. Does this mean it took me this long? There's an auto paver route there with nothing in it. Okay, so I need to go back across the bridge and then across that bridge, I guess, and then go up. Okie doke. Okie doke. Yeah. At least BB and I are matching. If anything. Even though we're driving to our death. And there's upside down rainbows in the sky. At least we look good.
bridges ID.
It's okay if we have to dump this truck too,
Weapons detect.
because
Restrictions lifted.
God. Jump! Yeah! Oh God. That sounded like it hurt. Sam Porter Bridges Distribution Center. That's just right there. Jeepus. Did you hear his grunt? That hurt. Oh boy, it's raining. How come we didn't get... Oh, that thing. Weather station. Got it. Alright, but... This is where we can get Cairo crystals, right?
Alright.
Hold on. We're just using the towers. Metals! 200 metals! More metals. Okay. Wait, there's a lot of metals here. Lake Knot City. XL. So many metals. We're yoinking them.
Right on.
We're yoinking them. Any that I pass. There you... The car still works, right? What happens if we're driving? Drop. You're joking. Do we get off? They can't get me if I'm in the truck. Surely, that's how this works. Maybe not. I'm stuck! Back in the truck. Get back in the truck. Just drive. 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 Yep. 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 Yeah! Heck you! Okay, wait. Okay, wait. Wait. I actually can't get those medals because they're surrounded by DTs. Yep. Nope, nope, nope. Why is that one yellow? Are we still going the right way? Who knows? I'm following the path of metals because that's where my heart tells me. Please! Where's the weather station? Oh no, I don't want to be out of the network. Hey, look, we're fine. Yeah. It was just right there. A rare shiny BT. Yeah.
Stretch my legs.
Will I regret that? Likely. Is that a road? I can't just like reach down and drink it. Listen, it's fine. It's just right there. It's fine. We're okay. What is this? Distribution center. Oh. Craftsman. Nah. Also nah. Okay. Okay, so the truck might be OP if we can just go, you know? We're almost there. We're almost there. Come on. You can make it up this... You can make it up this hill. Don't even have a tarp to put on this.
Still got it.
Yeah, you got it.
Charge this battery.
You got it. You got it. You got it. Look, it's not even raining anymore.
Better stop somewhere and get it charged.
Beginning scan.
Listen,
Scanning bridges ID.
we'll find a charger.
Verifying ID. Clear.
There will be a
Weapons detected.
charger
All weapons
once
will
we
be
connect
locked until
these
departure.
guys into
Cargo
the
verified.
network.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm here. Now show me all the stuff other people built so I can charge my
Delivering
truck.
cargo.
Hello,
Sam Bridges, right?
Sam
We've
Porter
been expecting
Bridges.
you. The gauge you brought is going to save a lot of lives. Let me do a quick inspection.
All good, all good.
Wonderful. It's in perfect condition.
Of course it is. Yay! Special alloys can now be used at all UCA affiliated facilities. The amount of materials that can be used at the weather station has increased. Special alloys. These guys don't like me that much. Oh, that's just my connection level. I thought that was like total. One or more bots of completed deliveries are now available. Lovely. 25%. Oh, that's not bad. My bots are doing work.
Once you connect us to the network, we'll be able to share our measurements with everyone. You mind doing the honors?
Yes. Let's see what you look like. Show me your face. Oh. Is BB gonna make an appearance? Oh, he's crying. It's that allergy. I don't remember what they're allergic to. We're halfway across America. I don't get it. Okay, so is the light where we are? But then only half of America is like filled in. Are we crossing these mountains? Gasp. Gasp, okay. I wonder where we're going next. He looks familiar. He looks like someone I know. Ooh, PCC level 2. Floating carrier. A floating carrier? Chiral clouds and timefall. Timefall shelter. Local data from the weather station has enabled Bridges HQ to add data for a new structure to your PCC. Nice! And a safe house. I've been seeing those. I haven't seen any of the timefall shelters though. New feature has been added to your cufflinks map. Weather forecast. I get to see where it's raining. This area is now connected to the chiral network, enabling you to see and access other players' structures. Please help me charge my truck. It's dying.
I'm sure they told you, but this weather station was built before the Death Stranding. Bridges 1 came and fixed it up.
He looks familiar.
Unfortunately,
He looks
we
like
lost
someone I
contact
know.
with our weather satellites a while back. Interference from chiral clouds. So it's been tough to measure chiralium levels and predict timefall. But thanks to you, this weather station can finally function as intended. You made our jobs easier. Now let us do the same for you. We won't let you down. I promise.
Yay.
Take care.
I see you got the weather station back online. Excellent work, Sam. When a region
Yay.
is integrated into the chiral network, it's also brought closer to the beach, in a manner of speaking. There's a significant impact on chiralium levels, and measuring that impact is one of the Cupid's primary functions. The more we know, the more accurately we can determine where to expect timefall and when. Without the chiral network, we'd be left guessing. Oh, and thanks to your latest accomplishment, you can now review the weather forecast via your cufflinks. Check your map.
Yay!
Ought to come in handy when you're planning routes. I'll keep an eye on the chiral density from right here in my lab. It's not too far from South Knot City. Keep
If only
processing those
planning
orders
routes
and
was
you'll put that
better.
engine on the grid soon enough. Good luck, Sam.
Thanks, Mama.
Good work, Sam. That's one more site on the grid. Keep it up and we'll be finished before you know it. The weather station's forecast should be visible to everyone on the chiral network now. Yourself included. You can access them via your cufflinks. Could be useful when plotting your routes.
Okay, I might be a little confused or forgetful, but
Please access
why
delivery terminal for further
do the
information.
mules not want us to connect everyone? Wouldn't they benefit from all this too?
We've
PCC
added
level
a
2.
timefall shelter option to your PCC. They're perfect for keeping you and your cargo dry until the weather improves.
Nice. Is it heavier though? To provide protection from timefall in locations where no other cover is available, shelters are equipped with cargo container repair spray and are heated in order to keep cold weather at bay. So do they repair your stuff if you go under them? Cool.
Congratulations, Sam. Your PCC's leveled up, so to speak. It now has the capacity to produce more complex structures. I'll let Mama fill you in on the details.
Sam, I've added a safe house schematic to your PCC. It's a fairly large structure, so it'll take a lot of time and materials to build. But once complete, it's pretty much identical to a private room. Give it a shot.
Please don't make it a quest. I just got these medals too. $300 and then 2,400 special alloys. I haven't even seen one of those yet. Put it on my back with the rest of the stuff. What? What did I...
A floating carrier is a kind of tractor car. Chiral crystals keep it suspended in midair, allowing it to move unimpeded over rough terrain. You can load one up with cargo and tow it to your destination with minimal effort. If one's not enough for your needs, you can hook it up to another and take
Whoa.
two. Just keep in mind that carriers require a steady supply of chiral crystals to operate. Make sure you have enough
Yeah.
to get where you need to go.
Imagine we put that on a car? I mean, I'm not carrying anything because I have a truck, so I don't need it. Deliver. Yeah. Deliver this.
Deploying autonomous delivery bot.
If I fought the BTs, would that area stop raining? Should I go back there and fight them? The songs that it sings. Take on orders. This one takes us south. This one takes us back. What's a VOG? VOG warning? Construct the safe house. Okay, this one we can do. But where? Yeah, I'll do it. This one. Hey, got it. Wait, they still made it for me. Goodness. this. Special alloys. Carry. It's all on the floor. Yeah. Yeah.
Order assigned.
Right. Let's hold on.
Sam, you're gonna need more chiral crystals. Get out there and search. When you
For
found the
sure.
required amount, head to the site and get that safe house in order.
Let me just put these in the truck. Yup. So many hacking alloys. Oh gosh. Okay, we've done this before. Just don't hit the ceiling and we'll... You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Transporter bridges, don't do this to me. Transporter bridges!
Seriously?
Rest is advised.
Transporter bridges. Put it in the truck. Calm down, BB. You're fine. You look insane. This guy. And then my truck's gonna probably die too. Everything on. God. Please stop crying. You're... Chill. What is this? Oh, there's more. Great. Where is a charge tower? Transported bridges, I swear. Okay. It wants me to build...
Weather forecasts can now be viewed via your cufflinks. Should come in handy when you're on the road.
Thanks. Okay. Wants us to build a safe house there. There's a generator there. I saw it. Shouldn't be too far. But should we build a generator here? Because... we need it. They gave me an extra PCC, so I may as well just use this one. Outside. Do not.
Sorry, Sam. I can't allow you to build a structure there. Pick a spot outside the sensor ring.
But you will.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying
that?
ID. Clear.
What's this?
Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until
What is this?
All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
Is this just the quest? It's the quest. Right. We're building the safe house first. Still in tutorial. Yeah! I can't use the vehicle. Can I just push it? Alright, something needs to come out.
Weapons restrictions
We'll
lifted.
put it right here. And we'll come back for it.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear.
I still
Weapons
can't get on.
detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
I have too much stuff. Can I leave it here?
Weapons restrictions
How am I gonna build this shelter?
scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. All clear. Rest is advised. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
Hey. Here we go. Alright, where does it need to be built? Where is that? I'll come back for that.
Let's get going then.
Alright, come back for it. Hey, I'll come back for it.
Weapons beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Weapons restrictions lifted.
As long as I don't go too far. Wait, maybe I should just put it in my private locker for now. Huh. Because that would be the smart thing to do. Let's use our noggins for this, even if it means 2 trips.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Rest is
Beep,
advised ID.
beep, beep,
Clear.
beep,
Weapons
beep.
detected.
Oh.
All weapons will be locked until departure. All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges. Hey, I would like to use my private locker. These can go into the private locker. Yup. Okay. And then these. I believe in you, Taya. What wisdom do you have for us today?
Rest is advised. Weapons restrictions lifted.
These two go in here.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons restrictions
These go into
lifted.
the private locker. Unless I also need them.
Beginning scan.
Wait,
Scanning
wait, wait, wait.
bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected.
I'll always screw
All
the
weapons
cat
will
back
be
on
locked
to
until
anything.
departure.
Of
All
course.
clear. Weapons restrictions
It all makes
lifted.
sense now. You're 100% right.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID.
Oh no!
Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected.
Damn.
All weapons will be locked until departure. All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
I'm hungry. What are you making? Private locker. Let's put the metals. And then maybe we can take the alloys. We cannot. Steamed buns! Mmm! You know what I really want to make? I really want to make, I'm forgetting what they're called. What is it called? It's like... Xiaolongbao. What is it called? Soup-filled dumplings? I really want to make those. I'm really craving them now. This can go into the private locker. I've never had those. Have you... Do you have a, Man, what is it called? It's a restaurant. I just don't know what it's called. I don't remember what it's called. It's like a... There's one called Dozone, and then the other one is called something else. It's escaping me. My brain is not working today. I'm hungry, and... my brain is deciding not to work. Wait, I can use the carrier! Can I get in? No? Can't. Let's use the stupid carrier. Wait, but will it carry if I'm in a truck? I don't want to waste it. Maybe I won't waste it though. Alright, carrier. Let's see what you've got. What? Floating tractor cart that travels largely unimpeded over rough terrain readies itself automatically when put on the field. Carriers use Corellium. I don't have any Corellium crystals. Never mind. You're going into the locker. I think that's it. Din Tai Fung. Yes, that's exactly. You can have the brain cell back. No. It's in good hands.
Rest is advised.
What am I gonna do with it?
Weapons restrictions lifted.
Maybe Miswa has the brain cell actually. She remembered what it's called. Is it this way? Oh no, it's right there. Weather station. Car, I'll come back for it. Ceramics! I need that too. Alright.
Okay.
Am I too far? Maybe I'm too far. It's because I just finished lunch. I'm jealous. I'm so hungry. Someone says free to use. But buddy, I have to make the thing here too.
All right, you've made it. Let's get that safe house built.
Yeah.
Sam? First, equip your PCC and select Safe House.
That's a bridge. This is a safe house. Alrighty. Right here. Ba-boom. Oh, that does take a while. I guess in the meantime I could be patient because it's done. Haha.
That won't cut it, Sam. You need more chiral crystals. If you don't have more on you,
Go out and get them. Got it.
go out and get some and deliver them to the safe house.
I've got 10. Alright, hold on. We're going into the danger zone. We'll go into the danger zone and grab some. Okay? We'll use up all of our grenades. But for now, take all these alloys. Add this, add this, add this, add this, add this. Yeah. And then 10 of this, because that's all I have. Why didn't they give me any? What are you having for lunch, Miswa? I really shouldn't be talking about food when I'm hungry. Alright, let's go look for some crystals. And fight some BTs. I would need to be... Yeah. We're gonna park the truck.
Stretch my legs.
And then walk to the rain.
Nice.
67? Jeebus. Chili oil, shrimp, and spicy peanut noodles. Yum! I know you're in your noodle arc. You know what? Recipes, please. Recipes, please, and thank you. Alright. We go. Go be brave.
Scanning for
Go be
weapons
big
history.
and brave. We can use the bullet gun still, huh? I'm out. But first, Granada! Yoink.
Nice.
I suppose I could craft a bike here. No, it's fine. Running around is fine.
There we go.
Because I need more for the road too. I donated a lot to that road, so even though I'm close to like leaving this place, I'm gonna finish that road for the next person. That's my good deed as a porter. For my fellow porters. Ooh, medals. Checkpoint stuff? So thoughtful, right?
Yeah.
I should, I'll include that in my Miss America speech when we rebuild America and start having, what's it called? Start having pageants again. I want to use my anchor. Do I need it? No. Nobody's built anchors here. But what if I struggle? What if I struggle to get up? Guess I don't need it. What if I struggle to climb up this? Oh! Yeah. I know. We're going back to where the scary stuff was, but it's fine. I'm gonna be brave. I'm gonna be big and brave. Accelerate the passage of time. Yes, I remember. I recall. No longer on the power grid. How do I get back on the power grid? Look at those medals. How's BB doing? BB is not doing well. So let's go over here. Is BB doing better now? Hardly. Okay, when BB starts to not do well, we're gonna go back. The lovely sound of rain, paired with my unfortunate screams of terror. Were there a lot of crystals here? Or just metals? Oh, come on. Import bridges. Don't do this. Go find that shiny DT. Hi, Ben. I don't have a truck to protect me. Stop putting it away. Yeah. Dare I pick up these metals? I don't see any crystals! I see you. like, you know how it was like hold your breath? I see one. For hold your breath to hide from them? I haven't used that. Totally forgot it was a feature. It's okay, baby. It's okay. It's okay. There's one right here. Ah. 17? Does it not matter where I get them from? Drop. I wish I auto-dropped them. Where? Are you coming closer? Hey. Is it dead? Is it gone? Right here? There has to be a more efficient way to get these things. Is it each time I kill one? Are we like actually hunting BTs now? The truck is damaged. But why? I really want to get these medals. Yoink. It's fine. There's like a thing right here that we could put these medals into. I'm not being a loot goblin. Okay. Oh look, special alloys. There was a road here. Where was it? Oh man, there's one. Choose violence playthrough. Yeah. Where's the shiny BT? Hold on. There was like a road thingy. Auto paver right there. Nobody else has... Oh, there are stuff. There's stuff in there. The thing is, should we save it for the road that we're almost done with? Or should we just use it? Is BB getting stressed? Since when were you not? Timefall resistant. Oh, we're done. Oh no, wait. I just walked too far. Should we save these medals? Or should we just use it here? Am I going back? There's so much. There's so much. So many medals. Let me fight them. Danger? Danger? Over cucumbered. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm not cucumbered. How do I know how much crystals? How do I know how much crystals I have? Oh, 300. Well, that's enough. It's enough for the shelter. Not enough for the road. I'll take it. Where are we going? Where did we come from? I guess I'll take this one. Whoa, that's a big one! Wait, I want it. There's two, just right here. Yo. Gimme.
That's a big one.
Even he said it. Should I give these guys my medals? Nah. Nah, we're good. I'm taking it to the road that we almost completed back there. What is this, like 400? I don't remember how much more I needed for the other place. I think it was like 800 ceramics too. The rain does sound nice. It sounds nice when there's not anything scary in them. Right. Oh, no windows, Run! There's so many up there too. It's fine. It's fine. Jeepus. Have to go uphill? In the rain? Back and forth? You kids have it easy these days. Oh my goodness. Is there even a nighttime? There isn't, huh? That would be crazy if they had nighttime here. Yay, the rain stopped. That one's also a big 170. Okay. Good to know not to immediately donate all of your cryo crystals into a facility for crafting. Usually there's enough in the facility, but you need it sometimes for yourself to have on you, especially since it doesn't really weigh anything too. Why does it look like this? It wasn't even raining here. This is how our parents got to school. Yeah. It wasn't even in the rain. Is it because I was in the rain and it was like...
There we go.
It didn't look like this when I left. Boo. Oh, I have to take each one now. Teacher required you to carry the entire library on your back.
There we go.
I don't know about you guys, but I never used my locker in school. I carried everything in my backpack. You only get 5 minutes and sometimes your locker is like halfway across campus. Nah. carried everything on me. Even during lunchtime. Actually, during lunchtime, I put my entire backpack away. Did in middle school because they didn't let us carry our backpacks. Damn. Oops. Complete. Skip. Look at our Tetris cargo on our back. That thing is falling apart. Oh my gosh, yesterday I almost couldn't upload the VOD. Almost couldn't upload the VOD to YouTube because it was down. And I was like, wait. Oh, what the heck? Huh? Why did it count all that? Just took the books I needed for the day. Lockers are black. Yeah. But I didn't know what books I needed for the day, so I just took everything. Didn't find out until senior year we were even assigned lockers. It's something people have privilege. Certain people have privilege of, and not everybody does.
I'm not just talking about the porters who'll use it as a stopover on the way to the weather station.
It's about to...
But the people they help,
falling apart.
and the people they help. We're all connected to someone else, Sam. But you'll have the honor of being the first person to rest there.
So we rest. I'm not lying. Risking my life to deliver you wine? So I guess some people get utensils delivered, so... Nobody used them? I thought they were just there for decoration. Damn. None of your friends use them? I think I used my lockers once, but it was to store like club stuff. Like for anime club we had like a D&D, not D&D, like a... What is the dance game called? Where you dance on a dance pad. I stored the dance pads in my locker for the whole year. Enter private room. Let's go eat.
Your work is greatly appreciated.
Everyone carried their backpacks. We were never told we were assigned lockers. I think that happens in what is it called? Oh my gosh, I can't remember anything. Wow, my brain is just not here today. Orientation. Orientation, they tell you those things. I think for 2 years I didn't go to orientation, and then the last 2 years I went, and I was like, oh, this is when you sign up for clubs, like sports clubs and stuff.
Thank you for your generosity.
And this is when you get your yearbook picture taken too. High school had 2 buildings, so too big anyway. Yeah. Ugh. Let's see. What? Shall we change our look? Is it time to do the sunglasses? Or is it time to put on a new color for our hat? Dress to impress time. What color do we want? Shall we do green? The face that I just made. I like the silver. Let's do Twitch purple. Twitch purple. Was I Twitch purple recently? We have to match with BB, so BB gets Twitch purple too. Yay! Okay. It would be wild if this bathroom was haunted too. It's not good. Okay. We can leave. Oh, wait, I have to put on the hat. Right. Hot flamingo pink. Right? I wish they give us regular colors that aren't super neon. Shout out Twitch. Audio starting to glitch? Okay, I can fix it while I'm here. Well, I don't know if it'll fix it, but I can do... You want to look at the mirror? I can... Is that better? I can do what I did last time. So... Let's shower. Cause we a stinky boy. I think he'll still have his
EX grenade number 0.
I think he'll still have his hat. Oh. Yeah, he'll still have his hat. Let's go! What did it last time? I have no idea. Oh my goodness. Alright. This poor truck. Is it gonna survive? BB matches too? Yeah, I can change BB's cradle color.
Safe travels.
If we finish this and Death Stranding 2, if I ever get it, if I ever finish, I can stream Once Human because it's very similar to this.
Beginning scan. Scanning Bridges ID. Verifying
Scanning
ID.
Bridges ID.
Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure.
This game
All
is
clear.
infinite. Technically,
Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
I can keep doing the random runs. I'm gonna put these medals in my locker for now. But I need grenades. These grenades need to be used soon. Did I even use the special ones? Custom. I was using the special ones. Okay, so I technically still have 15-ish. But I need my PCC back. I'm good on... I only have one... Oh no, I have 2 bola guns. I used up a ladder, but I think we still have one more. Yeah, we have 1 ladder. 1 PCC. 2 climbing anchors. Yeah, we're good. Okay. We're good. Let's auto-arrange this so it's not all falling apart. Orders. Should we go back? What is a VOG warning? Well, this cargo will emit VOG if its container breaks. Be sure to keep the container in good condition as you transport it. Okay, what is VOG? Prolonged exposure to VOG will cause Sam to faint and your game to be over. Maybe Ellie is a dystopia gamer? I realize that now. Why? Is it because Dune is also dystopian? I just like survival games, kind of. I don't know. I like games rich in lore. I also like Overwatch. That's not dystopian, kind of. Is it? No, it's futuristic. Fallout, Once Human. That's true. Shall we go back before we do the quest? I think we have time. If we put it in the truck, We'll be fine. We'll do the wheat seed later, and then we can get a new truck. Smile.
That container is filled with
Yikes.
pressurized bog. If it breaks, the gas will begin to leak out, which is bad news for you and anyone near you. Therefore, it's imperative you keep this cargo in good condition.
Right.
Pack some extra repair spray just to be sure. In
Right.
case you're wondering, bog is vital to the work of our R&D division. Deliver it safely and you might end up contributing to the creation of some new equipment for yourself.
So we need to do this. Listen, it's going straight into the truck. But maybe I should keep it on my back, just in case I need to leave. I need to abandon the truck. Because it looks very much like it needs to be abandoned. Alright, so we're going straight back. Straight back. How do I know where it's raining? I don't. Weather station. How to see rain? If only I listened. Bridge links. Data. Right. Hey! This wasn't here before.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
Is this alloy? It is alloy. Is that just for the... Is that just for the cargo? Can it work on cars too? Please fix my truck.
Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID.
Should... Okay.
Clear. Weapons advised. All weapons restrictions lifted.
Should I perhaps
Weapons restrictions
craft
lifted.
a bike?
Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID.
Do you get to travel through Appalachia?
Scanning bridges
Technically?
ID. Verifying ID.
I'm in it, or am I past it? I'm not sure.
All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
Sam Porter Bridges. Alright, so the place that we need to go, it's raining. But if we go straight south, maybe it's not raining. Or, if we go straight that way, maybe it's not raining.
Weapons are beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID.
What if I build
Verifying
a
ID.
bike?
Clear. Weapons detected.
Would that be better?
All weapons will be locked until departure.
I feel like it
All
would
clear.
be safer.
Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
Let's see if we even have enough. Fabricate me a vehicle, please. I cannot. Never mind. Why? Because I don't have a garage. Right. Right. Got it. Okay. So I tried to use my brain cell, and the game said no. That's not... That's not available for you right now. No brain cell use for you.
Rest is advised.
This way.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
Surely if we go this way enough, it won't be raining. Wait. Hold on. I almost left without all my medals. We're gonna get those medals.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure.
Teehee.
All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
Sam Porter Bridges. Let's load these up. What about the carrier? Just in case, right? Yeah! It all fits! Lovely. As long as we don't get caught in the rain, we won't be stranded with all this metal.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
Eee. It's heavy. Just gotta not get caught in the rain. I'm supposed to be able to see the wet. What was that about,
I wonder if anyone's watching.
guys, didn't we talk about how, something something shortcuts, something something around, something something, no choice? Something something, you'll always have to go where the game wants you to go. At least I can go here. Under this umbrella. Shelter my car. Okay. Listen, listen. We'll make it. We'll be fine. It's just a little cliff. It's just a little cliff. Impact fans? No. No. No! You're joking. You're joking. You're joking. You're joking. Where is the way out? Through the water, surely. Surely through the water. The battery now too? Free me. Let me out. Let me go. Free me. Free me. Why is it still raining here? Where is the way? Where is the way to that thing? Right there. Over there. Yep. Hop, skip, hop, skip, hop, skip, hop, skippity. Hop, skip. I will build a heckin' generator right here if I have to. Stop raining!
Gotta charge her soon.
Come on, hop, skip. We made it. Yay! Something straight line. Yeah. I never listen to my own. Is that guy naked? I never listen to my own advice. Hey look! A new track! Would you look at that? It all worked out. in the end. There is no limit. Did it get damaged though? From from when I launched it off the cliff?
So you made it.
It's fine.
Looks good as new.
Good as
My hat's
new.
off to you.
It's fine, it's fine. No damage, right? 1%. That's practically 0. 1% is practically 0. We can build ramps to jump off of? Nice. Hey, that was in the intro. Ooh. Wait, we can color our vehicle? Vehicle color data. Okay. What was that? That's not me. That's not mine. Oh, this is the bot. The bot delivered it. 78%. Whoops. Listen.
Well, take care of yourself.
You too, buddy. Let's go give these
Good work. New order available. Please access delivery terminal for further
give these
information.
medals to the thingy. It's fine. It's fine.
Beginning scan. Have a pleasant journey. Have a pleasant
6
journey.
other porters contributed to something.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
We're gonna leave this out here so it just disappears, hopefully. Oh, I didn't even need this many medals. That's fine. I don't know how to, like, split it, though. I don't know how to split it. You can just take whatever you need. Just take it all. It's fine. LA Porter Bridges. Oh my god. I need about 100 pyro crystals. About 800 ceramics. We need ceramics now. Whoa. What happened? Did it shock me? Is it gone?
Okay.
One tiny droplet
Beginning
and
scan.
this truck is
Scanning bridges
toast.
ID.
Listen.
Verifying ID. Have a pleasant journey. Decontaminating Have a pleasant journey. All clear. Welcome, Sam.
It's a good thing we have a backup truck that we also stole. Wow, this isn't our problem anymore. Just moving on over here. Yup. 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 That latte fell off the treadmill. Look at that, good as new. And if we need a new one, we just go to the mule camp right next door. Easy peasy.
Have a pleasant journey. Have a pleasant journey. Have a pleasant journey.
The smoking electricity is normal. It's an aesthetic, you know? We requested it to look like that. Wrecked. Is that a carrier? If this guy didn't use it, I wonder if it's because it's not good.
Okay.
Latte repeating Conan's mistakes. She didn't fall. I don't know. She like slid down. I don't know what she's doing up there.
Nice.
So I don't know if I can upload if I can upload this VOD to YouTube because my hard drive's full. So I don't know if I can
There we go.
download this video. I'll try. I think there's a way for me to like sync Twitch to YouTube so that I can just export it directly without saving it to my computer. But it won't let me schedule it the way I schedule these videos. Call IT. IT. For my hard drive?
Oh.
Boop, 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 boop. Your call is being monitored for quality something purposes. What is it? What do they say? Your call may be recorded for... Come on! Come on! I'll put this here. Wait, this one needs less?
Legs.
17? This one needs less. What? Nice. I wonder how much that one needs then. Resins. Look this way. Ceramics. 40 and 80 ceramics. Shall we? Or shall we proceed? Whoa. It's fine. It's fine. Whoa.
Someone's out.
Whenever Ellie is pushing the limits, I just hear disturbing please. Look into my eyes. Oh god! Hey, it's fine. It's fine, we're fine. Where's the other one? Across the river. We take the truck. I'm not ruining perfectly good pair of boots to cross this river. Thank you for the hydrate. You gotta hydrate with me though. Ooh, my bitter tea. Come on. Come on. Water. It's water. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, oh. Stop, 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 stop. What are you doing?
Okay.
Yoink. See that? Professional driver over here. Oh, I'm in BT territory. Not BT territory. I'm in mule territory. Right there. But do they have ceramics? No. Then I don't care. That other place is nearly done. We just need a lot of ceramics. Which way should we go? This way looks achievable, right? Hop skip. It's so silly to me that you can hop on a truck. I wonder if I can take ceramics from this place. It's not like I'll need it, right? Smile. Famous last words. Metals! That metal is always there.
Beginning scan. Scanning
Smile.
bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be weapons restrictions lifted.
All weapons will be weapons restrictions lifted. He just tosses it up there. With no regard for organization. Jeez. At least auto-sort it for me. I hope you guys enjoy the grind. All this effort. $800 ceramics. Bruh. Do I have chiral crystals even? How many? Ooh. We're really close. Can I just steal from the thing? These are material sinks. Do you see? We'll see. What is 2880 minus 2160? Quickly, math it for me.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID.
Don't ask me the numbers again because I already forgot it too.
Decontaminating sequence. All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
Sam Porter Bridges. Oh. Maybe these guys have stuff. Elder? Craftsman? Craftsman? A bunch of stuff. Okay. I don't want to donate anything, but I will take ceramics. Ceramics. 7? Oh, I don't have that many. Whoops. Surely a road is more important, right? Right. 720. Yeah. How many do you require? All. Can I not take all? Can I not take all? Oh, that's too much. Okay. 0. I wish to only take... Can you not? Can you not? I wish to only take... Whoa. It's making me take all of it. $480, right? Not all. Ugh. Okay. And then I can recycle these metals. You can have this back. But also my okay, I'll only do one just in case. So it said something about not everything can be recycled, something will be discarded. Did I destroy all that? I wanna see this.
Thank you for your continued support.
Okay. What do these mean? Size medium. How much is a size medium? 80? What? Okay, hold on. Is this just the size? Oh, so I can split them up. This one was... How much was this? I don't remember. That one was 480. I need 720. I need a calculator, guys. Calculator. 720 minus 480 is 240. So I need 60. One of these and one of these. Put it on the truck. Right? Right? Is that correct? Is that a respectable amount, or am I dumb? Hold on. 480 plus 160 plus 80 is 720. Okay, perfect. So that's how we split them up. We have to donate them first.
Thank you for your contribution.
Someone's delivering materials as well.
Begin the scan. Have a pleasant journey. Have a pleasant journey.
Please deliver Cairo crystals.
Weapons restrictions lifted. Yay. It's not like I'll need those at the facility. Famous last word. Let's go look for Cairo crystals. They don't need much. They just look like a hand. Maybe if we go see these guys again, they'll have materials, more materials, that I can use to replenish what I lost. So is it then, if I kill a BT, more of those hands will come up? And if other players kill a BT,
then that's where all these cans are from.
Nice.
56. Is that more than enough? I don't know. I didn't look at the numbers for the chiral crystals or how much we needed for it. Hey look! Another truck! I keep seeing these. Is that one that I also stole? I think so. I stole that. How much do we have now? 100. Pretty sure we didn't need 100. So we should be good to go. Twitch? 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 Did stream end? Hello? Are we back? What's happening? Is the stream okay? Oh, it was just... Is your stream okay? Bridges boots. Someone dropped their boots. Oh no. Let's charge our car. Our truck.
Hey, buddy. You're on electricity fire right now.
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges, weapons
You're on
restrictions,
electricity fire right now. Yay! Oh my god. That's terrifying. We get to be the one to build this. Build this road. Build this road. Build this road. We did it! Hopefully it's not too soon to celebrate. Yeah! Oh no! Yay! Wow! Wow! We have a road! Can I like this structure?
Thanks for the help.
I don't know how much I did. Okay. Now what? What's more American than building one more highway? It's all one singular highway. Doesn't connect to anything. But I mean... it is a highway. This, that. This will connect that. This will connect this. Right, and then there's that. That. I just hope it doesn't,
Right on.
I just hope it doesn't, like, go away. You know? For some people, 'cause then I worked so hard for what? It's on the other side of the water. There's people here. Hey guys. You guys are friendly, right? Nice. What does this need? The same amount of stuff as the last one, except nobody has helped with this one.
Okay.
I got nothing. I got nothing for this one. Alright. I'm gonna go back to the distribution center and see if they have another thing for me to deliver, potentially to the weather station, because I'm going back there anyway. And then we're gonna go see about the other place. I wish someone built the bridge right here, you know? There's like 2 bridges right there. Jeepers. Should I get that new truck? Or keep this one?
Beginning scan. Scanning bridges ID. Verifying ID.
Watch me log in next time and there's no road there
Welcome,
again.
Sam Porter Bridges.
Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Okay, you need to move. You need to leave. Move this all the way back here. Where it won't get me stuck. Alright, quest or oh, no quest. Alrighty. This does take us to the weather station. I'll have this deliver. And then we will do that other thing, because I want them to like me. Food rations. That's important. I'll take it there.
The jump ramp schematic has been added to your PCC. These ramps harness the power of chiral crystals to propel you high into the air. You can use them while driving, or on foot, or even when riding a floating carrier.
You ride the floating carrier? Yeah, well, I don't need that. I have one. Should I take the truck? Gosh, people are leaving their trikes here. But it is pretty cool. Jeez, that's a lot. Going in the truck.
Order assigned.
It's a good thing we're going to the weather station. We'll swap trucks. No, wait, no. We'll leave that truck there, but we'll take this one straight to the weather station. And hopefully, hopefully it lasts us.
Weapons restrictions lifted.
Isn't it nice driving on a highway? Where is a charging station though? Need a charging station. Oh boy. Let's just cross right here.
What can't you do?
I miss the shower ghost? I don't. If it shows its face again, I will leave the way I came. Back out. Same as I did last time. we're not friends with the shower ghost. It's not raining here this time. Up. It's not raining here. We can take all these medals.
Stretch my legs.
God damn. There's like special alloys too. Take those? Take the metals. Because there's like a road right here too that's being built. I think someone started building it too. Oh. That's not metals. Don't lie to me. What? Don't rain. I swear. Don't rain. I'll just put you on my back. That's just right there. I'm not gonna risk it. I wanna risk it. Get in the truck. Food rations can also get into the truck. It's not raining, it's fine. I love that it's not raining anymore.
Right on.
Take all these metals. Lovely weather we're having. Oh, I have to keep track of my tower. Up.
Okay.
Hey, Cairo crystals. Yoink.
There we go.
Surely I'll still fit. Yep. There was one more medal. Yeah, this way. Since we finished the road up there, or back there, we can build this one. It's on the way. Ready, set, hop. 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 Gosh, I was getting scared that I was gonna run it over and destroy the metals. Put it away.
Alright, time to move.
Ah, okay. So, I could potentially ignore these mats because if there's mats in like a raining area, I can ignore them and like do it later when it's not raining. Unless these respawned. Ooh, halfway. You can have my crystals. Dun. Where do we get? ceramics from? I was worried about the truck blowing up, but there's no rain, so we're fine. There's a charging right there.
Nope, not ready yet.
It's cool that you can charge it without having to like
Motor.
get off. There are people who fill the gas in their car without turning the car off. And I always thought that it's because if you don't turn it off, it'll explode. I still don't know why you have to, but I know that you should, so. Please don't roll. Please don't roll away. Please don't roll away. Hold on. Hold on.
Gotta stretch my legs.
What do I know? I don't drive. Sorry for the loud cars outside. Oh my goodness, the lights made my eyes hurt. We made it!
Beginning scan. Weapons restrict. Beginning scan. Scan rest is advised. Verifying ID.
Nice.
Clear. Weapons detected.
But you have a
All
license.
weapons will be locked.
I do.
Cargo verified.
Not by my own choice. I was forced to get my license. Here's your food rations.
Delivering cargo.
Thank you for coming.
Welcome. Everything's all
But
there.
seriously, what's your secret? And don't tell me it's tender love and care. I mean, there's not even one single scratch. That's incredible.
It's getting a truck. Nice. Elite mover. Geez, my miscellaneous is like... My delivery time is only 4 compared to my level 51 miscellaneous. Does that mean I'm slow?
Here, I got you something. Consider it an expression of my gratitude.
Swag? Lightweight metals? Listen. What am I supposed to do with that? Yeah, put it on the truck, I guess. Can I donate it to you? Can I donate it back?
Well, good luck to you, and take care of yourself.
How do you get lightweight metals?
New order available. Please access delivery terminal for further information.
We have mail to read. Weather station upgrade. You know, I'm not even technically part of the core staff. I'm medical. I was posted here to keep an eye on our skeleton crew, make sure their heads stayed right, and somewhere along the line got roped into processing deliveries too. Anyway, before we became part of the chiral network, this place was a weather station in name alone. We were collecting meteorological data, but only over a pathetically small area, and we weren't able to share it with anyone. Prior to the Stranding, they had countless weather satellites circling the whole planet, watching every move the clouds made, measuring every twist and turn of the wind. With that much data, it was easy to create forecasts. But things are different for us. We don't have a top-down view of the whole picture, but the Cupid and the network have provided us with the next best thing. Now that we can collate data from all over, we can generate more comprehensive models, which give us a much better chance of accurately tracking fluctuations in chiral density. And not only that, we can send weather reports to every city, prepper shelter, and bridges facility on the network. Now we really are doing something useful. We owe you big time. Aw. There's a purpose for everything. Thomas Sutherland. With this guy. I owe you an apology. In my last email, I made it sound like you were on the fast track to becoming obsolete. Guess I was caught up in my excitement over the delivery bot. Maybe I didn't let it show much, but I was glad to find you on our doorstep again. Seriously. Sure, the bots are useful and less risky, but that doesn't mean we don't still need guys like you. If anything, we need you now more than ever. Okay. Okay. You're a symbol, an inspiration. When people see you risking your neck for the rest, they have something to aspire to. I'm not saying that everybody should charge off into the wilderness, of course, but I think you're a great example of how we can work towards a better future. People need that. Hell, I need that. The only thing about this game is that there are a lot of Americans who have that main character mentality, and there would be a lot more void outs than there would be a lot of void outs. A lot more than they're showing on the map. Just saying. Chiral clouds and timefall. Hartman. Why do chiral clouds form? Why does timefall occur? And why does it herald the manifestation of BTs? These are questions we still struggle to answer. As we know now, BTs are beings formed of something akin to antimatter. Their first appearance coincided with the Death Stranding. Prior to that, it is believed that there was very little in the way of antimatter present in our world at all. But we've since learned that this was far from the case, for even before the Stranding, antimatter was all around us. I discovered a scientific paper on the subject titled On Antimatter and Clouds. According to the paper, the gamma radiation generated by lightning strikes can trigger the formation of positrons, and indeed particles like antimatter can be detected inside regular rain clouds. The mechanism by which they are formed is not fully understood, but the mere existence of this phenomenon is enough to suggest something intriguing. Chiral clouds containing chiralium? Yes. Wow. What would happen if gamma radiation were to act upon them in the same way as it does in regular clouds? Could chiralium, excited by gamma radiation, exacerbate minute distortions in space-time, somehow loosening the seams that connect us to our beaches? And if so, when the excited chiralium mixes with timefall and descends to the ground below, could the entire region beneath the clouds become more strongly connected to the beach as a result? This could well explain why BTs appear in areas prone to timefall. Furthermore, if the antimatter we previously thought did not even exist in any measurable quantity on Earth, were in fact present in such commonplace phenomena as the very clouds above us, would this not lend credence to the theory that BTs, beaches, and world of the dead, all of these things may have existed long before the Stranding? Too much of a theoretical leap? Perhaps. I do not deny our world changed, drastically and irrevocably. Nonetheless, Could it not be that the Death Stranding was merely the clap of thunder that brought this great change to our attention, and not the change itself? Okay. Okay. Lots of words, buddy. Alright. Now what? That will be on the test. Oh, wrong. Standard. Number of items to deliver 4. Should I recycle them now? The metals? Yeah, so I have space.
Thank you for your continued support.
Her face makes me so uncomfortable. I hope the next game she's not in it. Okay, take on orders. No BTs. Deliver all 4 containers of wheat seeds. Yo, let's go. I got it. We have 1 ladder, 3 climbing anchors, 1 PCC. No PCCs. 1 PCC. 3 blood bags. We're good. We have 2 boots. We have 2 bola guns. 2 granadas. Did we make another? No. Perfect. That's not too bad. On our back. Oh, I thought there was 4. Oh. Okay. Confirm. Head out.
Thank you for your contribution.
Let us organize this cargo. Oh, it wants it on the top. I don't want it on the top. Does it not matter if it's in the top or the bottom? Because... yeah. Because if I get skewered by a mule, I don't want it to be the first thing that falls off, you know?
Rest is advised.
You need a shotgun if you have Ebola. I don't have any.
Restrictions lifted.
I don't have any on me because they kept killing me or they kept hitting me. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna use my fists and the bola gun because the bola gun works on BTs too, so it's much more worth it to have it on me than ceramics. It's fine. More ceramics. These are the ceramics I've been looking for. There's a weather station. Okay. We're gonna take a nap. Actually, it's almost time to go.
Your work is great.
A Ebola scammer? Yeah, that's me. Sorry, needed to. No friendly ghosts, please. Good morning, Sam Porter Bridges. Lights turn on, please. Lights turn on. Lights? Okay.
Good morning, Sam. Blood collection complete. Thank you for your generosity.
That made me nervous. What do you mean, no? Shower Ghost hates us. I hate it too. I never want to see it. I think we ran out of Mad's cutscenes. Now it's just repeating the same ones. Oh, is this different? Oh no, it's the one where he's drunk. We have no hat, but it's fine. I wanted to have something different. So we're going south to the farm. And there's no rain, so it should be quick and simple. Hey, there's a data chip right there. Let's get that first. We should have time for this. There's a road down there, I believe. Okay, where'd it go?
Stretch my legs. There we
Now
go.
the question is, do we stay up here or do we go down? Ugh. Post box. I think we follow this. What's that? A ladder. Why would you need a ladder? That looks like their facility. Caution. Why? Because people? Yeah, straight line. We're not allowed to avoid conflict anymore. We have to go straight path to victory. Yup. Oh. There was a charging thing right there, though. Surely someone has a charge tower. Oh.
Predicting the weather is akin to predicting the future. Some animals have a kind of sixth sense that helps them to avoid danger, but we have something far better. The ability to gather data and act accordingly. Only humans possess this power to plan ahead. We have the capacity to live each day imagining what tomorrow will be like. And our imagination once gave rise to a rich, vibrant culture. But somewhere along the line, we lost sight of tomorrow. We reduced ourselves to animals, focused only on the here and now.
Oh. Why is BB laughing? Do you guys hear the music? Because I don't. Is it because I need to be walking? Am I expected to walk this? Nah. Nah, right? Why would you make me walk? Underwear. Lost cargo underwear. Someone lost their underwear. Let's see if there's music if I'm walking. Huh. How's the audio? Is it broken? So much ceramics. I really feel like I shouldn't. Why caution? Why caution? The truck is silent? Yeah, I think it's because it's expecting to play the music. You know? So it's making everything else quiet for the music. But then the music isn't playing. I'll get these later. What is this? This isn't the farm, right? No, it's not. It's a trap. It's the mules. It's a lie. They're lying to me. Alright, we're out of the network. It's time to walk. A car! Hey, can I have your vehicle? Oh god. Okay, wait. Let me have your Woo! Go to sleep, 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 go to sleep. Good night. Just duck, I guess. Oh god! Just kidding! Ah! Okay, wait. Your turn. I can't leave that thing on the ground. That's why I wanted it on the back or on the bottom. Metals. Okay, wait. Pay attention, Ellie. Don't get distracted. If I put these on top, surely they'll restructure it so that it's protected, right? They will... What do you do? They'll take down what's at the top. Should I take these metals? Stop! Custom grenades. That's mine! Hey, are these trucks better than mine? What? If I get them around the neck... Yeah! Can I have this? Thanks. It all works out in the end. What's your battery life? Better than what mine was. Yoink. I'll come back for you guys, don't worry. Oh, it's just right here. This thing. Oh gosh, much slower. Hold on. So much materials on the ground. Just laying there.
Scanning bridges ID. Fragile Express ID.
You guys live with these people? Oh, it's fragile. I see. I wonder if this path leads to where I need to go. Watch it be silent to us, but YouTube still hears it, and they're like, "You're playing copyrighted music." Just nobody else can hear it. Bring me my timefall porter. What? What is that supposed to mean? Hey! I have a lot of mail. Delivery! I'm sorry about the condition of one of them. Someone threw a rock at me.
Delivering cargo.
Thank you.
2 people!
Ridges has always been so good to us. Amelie was a dear friend in the early days. She saw the value in what we were doing.
They have
and
a
led the
lot
effort
of
to get our
food.
farm up and running. We've been waiting a long time to join the chiral network.
Let's have a look at that wheat you brought, shall we?
It's good, I swear.
Well, I'll be. Did you really bring us this much? How on earth did you manage? Oh, bless you.
They're so close to the mules. Only 2% damage. It's fine. All of them took damage? What do you mean? What do you mean? Don't lie to me. I only dropped one of them. I'm leaving. One or more bots have completed deliveries and are now available. Got it. 60% damage. We really need those roads built.
By the way, you wouldn't happen to know Fragile, would you?
Fragile.
If you see her, pass along a message for us. Tell her, thanks for saving our hides. If she hadn't stepped up, South Knots and our farm would have been wiped off the face of the earth. She's a hero. And you can tell her I said so. All right, the network.
Okay.
Think you can get us online?
Wow, 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 wow. We got Florida on the map. Wait, no. Is it Florida? We have Texas on the map. I don't know where I am. New interview data acquired. Prepper interview the Timefall farmers.
So, Sam,
Yeah, I know.
you've been run down by mules after they pinged your cargo, right?
Yes.
Well, to help prevent that from happening again, we've upgraded your own cargo scanner.
Oh.
Say you're about to get pinged. If you time it right, you can return the favor and cancel out their pulse with your own. They'll be none the wiser, and you can carry on without worry. Timing is
But
everything,
I like
though.
fighting them, though. Timing is everything. We'll figure it out. This is Tessis. Right. Central region. Ah. Oh, they're so much clearer now.
Now to start really using Timefall to our advantage. Our farm will be a world first. Truth be told, we've got some test fields, but without the
He looks
ability
like
to
the other
predict
guy.
Timefall, the results have been less than stellar. The Timefall around here was fairly regular, so we had a reasonable idea of when to plant and when to harvest. But then the terrorists went and threw everything out of whack.
I don't understand.
Too
Like,
many
why would the
dead, too
terrorists
many
want to get
critters.
rid of their food
Weather
source?
became impossible to predict. The network's forecast ought to help us get back on track, thank goodness. If all goes to plan, we'll be able to expand our operation and use Timefall to cultivate whole swaths of land. We'll continue our genetic research too, of course, and see if we can't find a way to help develop a sustainable ecosystem.
The way he talks is all whispery.
Maybe we'll even stumble into some answers about the Timefall while we're at it. We got our work cut out for us. But I'm up for the challenge. Thanks again, Sam. You've given us hope for a better tomorrow. I can't wait for the harvest.
This... Okay.
That's the way, Sam.
Hold on.
Halfway there. You can do it. Huh? Well, would you look at that? You've only just brought the Timefall farm into the network, and already we've got new orders. May as well make use of the return trip.
Return trip. I'm going back?
Good work. New order available. Please access delivery terminal for further information.
What? Going back where? That's so far. Are you serious? Hey, a bridge. Well, I'm not ready to go back. I just got here. At least there's a safe house here. So we can take a shower. What do you have for me? There's no more roads. People stopped building roads. No orders for me? Well, I do need to go back there anyway. Materials for vehicle maintenance. I can do that. I'm gonna leave my character here. And then we'll be right back on it Monday, maybe. Yeah, next week I might only have one stream. We shall see. I have something on Wednesday, and then Tuesday I might be too anxious to do anything. I'd be crippled with anxiety about the next day. Does that ever happen to you guys? Okay, let's see. Mail, Thomas Sutherland. Bots are here, but is that for the best? That bot you brought us is a real piece of work. Takes everything into account. Cargo type, terrain, and calculates the quickest route every time. And if it does happen to run into a BT, there's no void out to worry about. So, do the BTs also mess with the bots? But why? It's not living. What would be the point? If we can teach it how mules operates, it might even be able to anticipate their movement and avoid them too, which means all the risks in using human porters, the dangers you and yours face every day, well, they could be a thing of the past. Might not be a need for you to put your life on the line any longer. Is this the letter he was talking about where he was like, I didn't mean to make it sound like we don't need you, blah blah blah. Time to start planning for the easy life, eh? But is it for the best, I wonder, leaving everything to the bots? Isn't that what led to drone syndrome and all that? Better to keep people involved in some respect, maybe. Same with cars. Back in the day, everyone was all about self-driving vehicles. If you ask me, a human hand ought to always be on the wheel. Am I right? No. I'd let a bot drive for me. They do better. They do much better than I would. But we just got here. Listen, I started early. If I can keep waking up early, I might start streaming earlier too, but I wouldn't count on that. I love my bed. Bring me my Timefall Porter. Thanks for delivering the delivery bots. I heard you were headed to the Timefall farm down the way. Don't know if you heard, but rumor has it they've been brewing beer. Maybe even using Timefall to speed up the process. I'd sure like to have a taste if it's true. And if they joined the chiral network, I'd be able to place an order with them, wouldn't I? Of course, you can't print beer, so I'll have to rely on you to get it here. Pity the bots won't be able to enjoy it with me, but hey, guess that's a privilege only humans can enjoy, am I right? Anyway, I'm counting on you. This guy's making me risk my life to get his beer. Taste of beer. That's why you look like that. Sorry. This is a little mean. Oh, we have data chips to give too. Whoa, whoa. The Timefall farmer. Me, I used to be an ecologist. Emily thought highly of me and my wife's research into Timefall's effect on plant life. She was the one who suggested it could be used to boost agricultural production. See, Timefall's radically altered the ecosystem of the entire continent. Obvious, I know. Just as it's obvious we're powerless to stop it. So we had the idea of trying to use it to our advantage instead. Make the environment better, not worse. Easier said than done, though. Take void out craters, for example. Local chiral density is generally higher in their vicinity, which correlates with increased timefall. With all that exposure, you'd think they'd turn lush and green again before you know it. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite pan out that way. Nothing grows in any of them. Might be the timefall's done something to the soil, but the truth is, I don't have a clue. Which was one of the reasons why me and the missus were conducting our research. Gotta say, for the record, that it hadn't crossed our minds that timefall could be used to help grow food. That idea was all Amelie. So credit where it's due. The writing, they're really good at showing gratitude, which I deeply struggle with. I try to give my friends praise, especially if they help me with something, or if, yeah. But I struggle to like correlate what I need to be thankful for, and I'm pretty sure it's something that's followed me over the years. Like, a lot of my New Year's resolutions has been to be more grateful for things. And all the dialogue, all of the letters and the cutscenes and stuff, they're always like, you're doing great work, you're doing this and that, you're giving us hope, blah 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 blah. And like this, it's so strange to me. Like, I'm trying to wrap my brain around it. Like, this is what it sounds like to be grateful, and it's making me think that it's unnatural, but I keep hearing it in the game. So who knows? Maybe this game will help me with my my issue. What did we get? I think I still have to share it. Can I share it here? Twitch is dying for me. No! Refresh. That's not it. Is it delivery? Share memory chip data. There we go. And then after this, we'll get off.
Well, would you look at this? Thank you so much, Sam.
Welcome. Frame arms Genbu.
Thank you for your
Oh my goodness.
contribution.
Is it raining? Whoa. Thanks to the discovery of tea crystals, which seem like they might provide the solution to the Earth's energy crisis, a power source known as the EU system was developed. Project Resphere arose as a response to the wide-scale adoption of this power source and the resulting overpopulation, and was largely enabled by the development of the frame architecture robotic skeleton. The Genmu model is a large, heavily armored mechanoid created by designer Yoji Shinkawa. What does that have to do with the game? Okay, I guess. Let's save. If it's raining, though... If it's raining, we're going to that shelter and going to sleep. It is raining. You're joking. My truck! It's in the shade, right? I just got this truck too! Right there. It's not in the rain, technically. Gotta hide in here. Alright, guys. Alright, everybody. I hope you guys had fun. Next stream Monday. As long as nothing happens like last time where I had a migraine. But I will see you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out with me. This VOD will be up on YouTube. Hopefully, I might have to just delete some stuff from my computer so I can fit it. But yeah, it'll be on YouTube. Maybe a little late. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for being here. Thanks for everything. I still don't know how to be grateful for things, it seems. I'm trying. I'm learning. I don't know how to be thankful. Game's teaching me still. We're learning. Alright, have a good weekend. I love you. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye 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 bye. Mwah.